Well, both of you thank you so much for joining us today. It's an absolute honor having you both on the show, and I was wondering if we could start off, if one of you could tell us a little bit about CARESS Ache. Tell us a little bit about the production and what people can expect to see when they head along to check it out.
Sure. Do you want to go, Della, or do you want me to go?
No, you go.
Okay. So CARESS Ache it's a wonderful show. It's going to be, our performance is going to be its Victorian premiere, which is very, very exciting. All of us originating those roles in Victoria, particularly since Susie Miller, the playwright, she was born in Melbourne. So, this will be the first time the play's kind of coming home to Melbourne, which is really, really lovely. And it's got a very, very interesting structure in the way that the story is told. It's told over multiple interconnecting stories that deal with grief and loss and the power and what would the word be? The power and importance of touch, and how touch can be an incredibly intimate thing. It can be an incredibly sensual thing. It can be an incredibly comforting thing, but it can also be an incredibly damaging thing and an incredibly dangerous thing. And it's just, really a character study on all of these different people whose lives we get to spend a bit of time with.
So, Della, what were your first thoughts when you first read the script?
Well, my character is an Iranian Australian girl in this play. And that's me. I'm an Iranian Australian woman, actress. And when I first read the play, I was like, I have to do this play because it was really close to home and close to my heart. And I don't know if you're aware of what's happening in Iran at the moment. There are uprisings and people are fighting for freedom on the streets. And people are being killed by a dictator regime.
Yep.
And this process has been going for 43 years. And it was really interesting to me that an Australian playwright that doesn't have any Iranian background was aware of this situation. And the character Arzu, the Iranian girl in this play, is very specific and very genuine. So, it was great to being able to do the role.
So, Della, does that make playing this role really important to you? Because this is a play that highlights what's happening in Iran at the moment. Does that make this play extra special for you to be involved with?
Yeah, definitely. And the crazy thing is that when everything happened, it just blew my mind. I was like, this was meant to be, because I got this role, and then the uprising's happening, and I also am doing some activist work in Melbourne to stay in solidarity with the people in Iran. So on the weekends, I go to rallies and also do rehearsals for this play.
Wow.
Which is, yeah.
So, Sorab, tell us a little bit about your character as well. Is it a character that you also feel a real affinity for?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm playing a character named Mark Anders, Dr. Mark Anders, who is a pediatric surgeon, and he's going through a very, very traumatic event, and it kind of serves as the catalyst for the framework of the play in terms of exploring touch. He develops a phobia of physical contact, and I think that, I'm obviously not a doctor, let alone a surgeon, but the idea that after such an intense event, someone could be so affected in a way that, it's a very, very fascinating play to read. And when I read it, I was struck by how, unique it was in the characterization of Mark's trauma. He's not sitting around and weeping or lashing out at people, though he does at times. He's really sort of lost, and it wasn't. I really identified with this idea of finding yourself through the hardship, through the trauma, because I think that those moments are when we learn the most about ourselves. And he goes on this journey of kind of realigning his life, changing the way he looks at the world, the way he looks at his marriage. And, I'm sure it's such a cliche to say that after the couple of years that we've just had, everyone's gone through some sort of realignment of their life. But I think that sort of definitely gave me something to identify with this character. And, knowing what it's like to go through grief and go through loss and have that affect the little moments in your life, I think it's really interesting. And he's a wonderful guy to play.
Definitely. Dela, we mentioned before about touch being such an important part of this production. Was that something that you'd thought about previously, about how important touch is in our lives?
Yeah, definitely. I've been thinking about intimacy and how I think in modern days we've been a bit far from it, from the actual intimacy and connection, because of social media and a lot of things being done online. And I feel like a lot of people these days crave connection and intimacy, but don't know how to reach to it in a way, because we haven't learned to have intimacy and connection in person. Because I'm a nanny as well, and I take care of a 2-year-old baby, and the first word he learned was Google. They have a Google player at home. The first word he says is Google. That by itself shows how much far from intimacy we are.
Yep.
And so this play is really important to remind us about intimacy and touch and the importance of it, and not being afraid of it, because yes, it is very scary, but it is also very beautiful.
Yeah.
To be able to feel that beautiful feeling, we have to keep ourselves open to the fear and the danger of it.
Definitely. So, have you talked a little bit about your character having a phobia of touch? And I guess a few of us that had COVID experience what that's like when you have to be totally isolated with no touch, but also losing a sense, because a lot of us lost the sense of taste during that time. Did you go and do much research into what it is like for someone who has a phobia of touch?
Yeah, so I definitely did some Googling, as that 2-year-old would know very well. I definitely did some Googling about people who have a phobia of touch. And it was very, very fascinating to learn about the different... I was mostly interested not so much in how it manifested, but in the different reasons behind why people develop that sort of phobia. And it was very fascinating to find not scientific studies, but definitely anecdotal studies and things that people had written about their time during COVID and about their time coming out of it and struggling with that and forgetting, how important it is, but also kind of having this sort of trepidatious feeling with people coming too close to them after the last couple of years. And yeah, it was really, really fascinating. I will say that the script is so wonderful in that it's all on the page. Like, everything that I was learning during my research was just supporting the things that were already in the script, which was really, really wonderful to see. And yeah, little elements and ticks that kind of made their way into my performance. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Dela, I guess the next question is, tell us a little bit about the director. I've heard great things about from people that have worked with her before. So tell us a little bit about what it's like to work with Kate.
Well, it's amazing. I'm going to start with that. And she's very open to suggestions and to, I think, the actor side of being creative and having our own way of doing things, but also gives enough direction so we don't feel lost at times.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good mixture of both, and I think it's because she has acting background as well, which really helps us, the actors. And yeah, she's very talented. She the first time we read my character monologues, she told me that before she watched me read it, she wasn't sure about why this character wants what she wants.
Yep.
But she said, like, seeing an actual Iranian person doing it like enlightened me about the culture and also the reasons behind the character's needs and wants.
Awesome. Well, I wish I could head along to check out the play. As I was saying before, I'm going to be away, but I know a lot of our listeners are going to be heading along to check out this wonderful production. So I guess from both of you, starting with you, Sorab, what would you like to say to people out there who are thinking about heading along to check out this production?
Come check it out. It's going to be really, really great. It's a really wonderul show. It's incredibly human, and it deals with very, very intense subjects in a wonderfully accessible way. There's, we did our first full run through a few weeks ago, and because of the nature of the play and the way that the play is structured, a lot of us are working very separately because it's all of these interconnecting stories, and we may not be on stage with everyone all at once. So we hadn't seen everyone do the other scenes, and doing the run through, I think we were all, at least I was, kind of struck by how funny the play is at times, because when you read it on the page, you don't necessarily think, oh, this is a comedy, and it's not. It's definitely a drama, but because it is so human and because the dialogue is so well written, there are moments of genuine laughter as well as genuine tears and as well as genuine intensity. But I think it's a really universal story. I think there is something for everyone in it, and we're working really hard on it. So we hope a lot of people come and check it out.
Awesome. And Dela, what would you like to say to people out there who are thinking about coming along to check out the production?
Well, kind of the same as what Sorab said. It's this play is very human, and it is really important for us humans to actually go back and check in our humanity, because at times we can forget that, we can get caught up in everyday life, and we can forget about connection and intimacy. And I think this play contains all kinds of intimacy and connection to like people, connection to a land, and I think, as Sorab said, is very universal, and I think a lot of people relate to the stories and characters of this play.